Welcome everybody. Let's take a look at how we can go and add in fonts to Photoshop. So let's go ahead, let's add in File New here. And you can pick whatever kind of dimensions that you want. I'm just going to go with 960 by 640. And of course, these are pixels. Okay, we'll just go ahead and push OK. And we'll kind of move this on here. It might take a couple seconds for it to load. Just push OK there. And there you go. We have this nice background here. I also selected the option where I could add in the background as transparent. Let me just go and show you that here. So new, background contents, transparent. All right, I'll just go ahead and push cancel out of that. You can do that if you wish. You don't have to. It's not necessary, but I always like to add in my own background here. So first of all, let's go ahead and let's talk a little bit about fonts. All right, so first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to pick an off-white color. I always like to do 250, 250, 250. It's a slight gray. Push the G key, maybe Shift G if you're going to go to a gradient. And there you go. So let's go, and first things first, whatever your color is going to be on the front, that's what the color of the font is. So in this case, I kind of want a off black, so I'm going to go to 50 tab 50 tab 50. So I just did 50 50 50, and then I'm going to go and type in something like Mammoth Interactive. Now, I have a special font called Oswald Bold, and this is awesome. Okay, so the other thing that you can do is you see these pink lines. If I kind of move in there, those pink lines help you. They definitely help you kind of center everything. So I'm just going to try and get everything centered here, and there you go. So that you can see is a font. Now, if I push text and double click Command or Control A, you can go up here and you can change the font. Okay. Now, what's cool about this is that Photoshop has all of the different kinds of fonts you could ever want, right? So you can always add in new fonts, and these are the fonts that are actually on your computer here. So, if you wanted this light font, you could add that in here, and you can always take a look at the fonts. Just as a fun tip here, there are different kinds of fonts here. So this one right here is, I'm going to zoom in quite a bit here. This one here is called a serif font, and the reason why it's serif is it has those little kind of things on the end of it, those little appendages. And these are usually used in books because you see these little appendages and it reminds your brains of lines, so it's a little bit easier to read. Okay, so that's a serif font. Let's take a look as a sans serif font here, and these are pretty standard. And sans serif meaning sans is without in French. Some people say sans, but I'm pretty sure it's sans as in sans without in French. So this here does not have those little appendages, and therefore it is a sans serif font. Now the other type of font here, and I'm going to go to Courier. So if you kind of scroll down to Courier here, in Courier, and I'll just kind of, there we go. These are what they call monospace fonts. And it looks kind of old, it looks kind of retro, and that's because at one point in time, all fonts were monospace fonts. What that means is that every font has, or every letter in this font has the exact same width. So if you look at, for example, a Q and an I in a different font, you'll notice that the Q takes up more space than the I, not in monospace fonts. In monospace fonts, everything is the same. And so if you're going for a retro look, that's what you can add in there here. Okay, so what I'll do is I'll go back to my Oswald Bold, just because that is my favorite, one of my favorite fonts at least. And we have Oswald Bold here. Okay, so let's just kind of go back here. Now there's a few other items you can add in here. In this case, it's bold, but you can sometimes fonts you can change that. You can also change the size of it. Also, if you go to Edit, Transform, and Scale, and if you push the Shift key and the Alt key, So if you push the shift key, it scales everything proportionately, because if you don't do that, you can kind of scale it whichever way you want, which kind of looks neat, right? And always Command or Control Z. So you want to scale everything proportionately because that keeps your font the same. Also, if you push Option, it scales it from the center. So that's actually really cool. So Alt and Shift will definitely do that here. Now, if you do that, for instance, and push Return, you can see that the font is now bigger. So you can do that automatically. Over here, you have the left, you have the center, and you have the right. Likewise, if you wanted to, for instance, click on this, and I'll just move this over, and if I wanted to pick something, like if I wanted to make it a specific color on the screen, you can see that it does that here. Now, if I were to, for example, just drag in an image here, and don't worry about that for the time being, I just want to show you what I mean by this here. So let's say I wanted this mammoth here, and this is one of my favorite things to do, by the way, is to only make part of this a different color. So if I wanted to, let's say, make it this orange, you can see that my cursor is now an eyedrop. So I click that, and now this is orange. Look at that. Okay. Now I'm just going to push the eye to hide this because I don't need that here. And you can see that this looks pretty good by itself. Okay. So that's a small tutorial on fonts here. Thanks for listening. And oh, by the way, there is a 10-hour free course in the description. I hope you take it. You can learn how to code. It's also free. Please subscribe, and I'll see you in the next tutorial.